Hello everyone! Welcome back to more Doom 2, where I definitely didn't record an entire episode with the audio muted, and now have to redo this entire level all over again, because I don't feel like recording the audio, like overdubbing the audio. So there's that. Yeah, you can see here I'm on Blood Falls. I had to actually... This is why I save in between episodes. But yeah, you can see I'm on Blood Falls. So what I've been doing is... I have been... Gosh, I don't even know if I'm gonna, remember all of, the conversations that I had in this episode last time. It was some pretty interesting, stuff, too. But so what I do is I mute the desktop audio with a push of a button. Super easy. And then I have a secondary thing on OBS that plays the background music and things like that for the outro. And in my because of some things that I ended up having to deal with between episodes, I forgot to unmute the audio. And so there was no audio for an entire episode. It was literally this one level. So that was fun. I have to, go back through all of that again. So, and I have no health and no armor right now. I think this happened last time, too. I had nothing here. So, there's a bunch of them right around this corner. I was hoping I could wake them up just by, shooting, but they don't wake up from, unless they take damage. So... But that's alright. This place has a bunch of, health packs and stuff. So, but one of the things that I was, talking about in the last episode, or I should say in the Lost episode, where I accidentally muted the audio, was the very concept of demons. And what they look like versus, what they're always depicted as. Same with angels. Conversation actually went into the same thing. Where I was where I ended up talking about angels as well, not looking like what they are depicted as. So, at least in the few religious texts that I know, I know a little bit about, or well, not a little bit. I know the Christian text, and I know that the Jewish book is some of that. Only some of it, I should note. But some of that is used in, the Old Testament in the Bible. So I know that some of that is in there, I just don't remember what the Jewish, book is. I think, and somebody can let me know down below in the comments, but I'm thinking it was the Torah, right? I think. To show you how ignorant I am of these things. I had actually said, like, I had started by saying the Quran, and I realized I think that's Islamic. And so I was pretty quick to correct that. But then, like, after I corrected it myself, I went, actually, I don't know if I'm right about either of those. So somebody will have to let me know if I'm right about either of those in the comment section. Because I am curious. So I am, again, completely ignorant as to, which it is. So, but like, I always find it interesting that demons are depicted as, like in Doom here, they're these horrible, grotesque monsters. The true sources of all evil. I mean, look at these guys, right? I mean, these things are just like brown and, creatures, right? With spikes on them. But like, there's like the Pinky Demon, and like the Hell Knights and all that, right? And so like, in this, like, they're all depicted as like horrible, grotesque creatures. But from my recollection, and somebody is free to, respond, in the comments about this. But my recollection is that the demons were angels that, like, did the big screw up, basically. And they got sent to hell because they, screwed up. So, like, wouldn't that therefore mean that angels and demons would look exactly alike? Whoa! I mean, that's just my thought. That was interesting. That cacodemon had a cacodemon that was dead on top of him. That was great. Alright. Oh, that goes down to that. I see. I've got to actually go there. I did pick up this, so I'm going to pick up the health. There we go. Whee! There we go. But, like, I always find it interesting that, like, in religions, there always has to be some kind of, like, ultimate evil, It's not, it doesn't seem to be enough to simply say, hey, we are, monkey brain, and we sometimes choose to make bad decisions. Instead, religion always seems to have this concept of, like, while we have screwed up, it's because of an external force, because of the ultimate evil. I'm going to die at this rate because I did that. Tried too hard to kill the demons before they teleported. But like, to me, isn't that, my question about that, about the idea that, like, we aren't necessarily the ones choosing to do the wrong, but there's an external force that, like, makes us choose to do the wrong. My question on that is, isn't that actually what religion claims was the original sin. You know, I mean, there was the, you know, in, you know, like the Abrahamic religions, like Christianity. There is like, well, Adam ate the fruit, you know, but it's not so much that Adam ate the fruit, because I mean, that was like the first, like, thing. But after he ate the fruit and God was like, hey, what the heck? Adam was like, hey, you know, the person that you gave to me to, like, help me and prevent this from prevent me from making these decisions. Like, she made the decision first and I followed along, you know. He passed the buck, you know. He was just like, yeah, no, it's not my fault, you know. And, like, isn't that exactly the same thing? You know? It's not my fault, you know. There's demons. And the demons are the ones who told me to do this. And I just, you know, did that. Like, is that not literally just the exact same thing? You're just passing it on to somebody else and saying that it's their fault and not yours, you know? Well, I didn't do this, you know, I didn't do this thing because I am wrong and evil, you know, because I am capable of doing that on my own, you know, making that choice on my own. I did it because the demons, you know, they exist. And they whispered in my ear, hey, you should do this. And I did. Like, isn't that literally the same thing? You know, you're passing the blame onto somebody else and are not willing to take the blame for something that you yourself did. You know? There's always seems to be this concept that there has to be that it has to be somebody else's fault. That there has to be something that makes you choose what you chose. It's not possibly your choice, you know. There's always an ultimate evil force that just wants to see everybody and all of the world and all of the universe burn. Just for the sake of... because they can. You know? And my question, like my biggest question on that is, if there is an ultimate evil, if there is a force that does wrong, if there is a force that, because of it, that's the reason why you did something wrong, then where did that original force come from? And what made it choose to be the ultimate force, the ultimate evil? You know? The idea of the devil, right, is that he and his demons are the ones making you do these things. But what made him choose that? And if the answer is that he didn't choose that, but instead he was created for that purpose, then would that therefore not, mean, I was trying to think of a different word, but would that therefore not mean that the fact that they are evil is not by their choice, but instead because the ultimate good force, the creator, deemed that there had to be an ultimate evil? And, even further on, it makes me think, if there is this, ultimate force of evil, right? And they weren't created to be the ultimate evil. I believe the Christian, the Abrahamic, religions all state, Satan, Lucifer, whatever name you want to give him. He was the right-hand man of God. And, he thought that he was all that. And he became too prideful, right? And so then he was cast out because of that. Because he sinned first. Then would that therefore not insinuate, that was the word I was looking for earlier, by the way, it was insinuate. Would that therefore not insinuate the idea that the ultimate force of evil could simply ask for forgiveness, and thus he would be forgiven, And if the ultimate force of evil can't be forgiven, then what is the criteria for forgiveness and unforgiveness? What makes them, what makes the ultimate evil unable to be forgiven, but we as humans can be forgiven? Also, I'm doing much better this time around than I was last time. I think it's just because I hadn't played this level in so long. I had died so many times by this point in the original. There we go. Let me just get, this, since I don't have the chain gun. Good. Good. That's what I always thought they were saying when they died was good. Obviously I have no idea why they would say good about getting killed. But that's just what I always heard whenever I killed them. Good. As they melt away, So. But yeah, and I was talking to a friend of mine earlier today, which for everybody else will, not date this episode. But should they watch it, because I do know they watch the channel, though they might be like, oh, so that's when that got recorded. But, I was talking to, a friend of mine earlier just today about it, in fact. And they were like, yeah, as a kid, they always, prayed, please, let, Satan, simply ask forgiveness and be forgiven. And I never prayed that, but I always did wonder that, this idea of Satan is unforgivable, that he can never be redeemed, has just never made sense to me. Because that's like the whole idea behind like Christianity, right? Is that, God will, if you ask forgiveness, God will forgive. And I know that on one hand, somebody's going to say like, well, it's because he would never ask forgiveness. And that's like why, Satan can't be forgiven, But my question about that isn't necessarily, why can't he be forgiven? My question is, why can forgiveness seemingly only come from the now, from our lives, as we're living them here on earth, in our, 60 to 80, maybe 100, year lives. Why is it only that forgiveness can come during that period, Take an atheist, for example, which I am. An atheist would say God doesn't exist, which, I would say. The atheist would say, well, God doesn't exist because it doesn't make sense that he would exist, and I can give you all kinds of proof that points to, that was just I was seeing that thinking it was an item. I'm going, I don't remember there being an item there. But, to take, the atheist says, well, God can't exist because of these reasons, there's no proof, there's, actually, honestly, more proof to the latter than there is for his existence, but like, so the atheist would say that, right? And so, they could live a perfectly, happy life. They could believe in, that there are morals, because there are, yes, we might create the morals ourselves and figure out what is right and what is wrong. But there are morals, we should follow them. And so, let's say then that atheist does follow morals, And those morals, while they aren't, belief in God and things like that, they still follow essentially the same sort of morals that a Christian might, And so then the question comes, if basically their only real sin is the non-belief in God, then when they die and there is a God, why then can that God not look at the atheist who is, standing in front of him and simply say, and the atheist just says like, oh, well, I guess you do exist, I apologize. Right? Why is it that is unacceptable? Why is it that God would be willing to allow them to go to hell, despite the fact that, they're standing right there in front of, God and saying, like, look, I see, you do exist. My bad. I mean, probably in more formal terms, I'm sure. But, like, why would that not be acceptable? Why is it that we are only held accountable? Why are we held accountable for a literal, incomparable period of time, an eternity, for the things that we did wrong in the tiniest fraction of time in comparison? Like, why are we held accountable for those things when, it's a teaspoon to an ocean of life, Do you factor, I don't even remember, like, do you factor, like, fluids in, like, teaspoons? I think so, right? It's a grain of salt to a mountain of salt, Like, the amount of time, I mean, the amount of time that we are, mortal and living is incomprehensibly small compared to an eternity. So why is it that we're held accountable for that length of time, for the period of, why are we held accountable for eternity, for what we chose or did not choose here in life, in that incomprehensibly small period of time? Why not allow the forgiveness in, eternity? But also, at what point, again, going back to my original question, at what point does it become unforgivable? When you have lived your entire life one way, and you've believed a way, and, that's what your entire, that's what you have, like, done for your entire life, like, why, I'm like, I have a thought in my head that is not wording, like, let's say you're a serial killer, I'm assuming none of my followers are, but let's say, let's think about it like that. Let's assume, a person is a serial killer. Something that we have proven, by the way, is generally caused by a, like, chemical imbalance in the brain. Not usually something that people just wake up one day and decide to become. Like, why? Like, what, like, can can that person, you know, still be, you know, given sorry, my brain. You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and break this episode here. I mean, we're at, 30 minutes. Not even entirely sure where we are in this level, to be honest. Like, where we are in comparison to, the end. I want to go for, like, another, like, 15 minutes if, we're, like, yeah, if we're, 15 minutes away from the end. And we've got 62 out of 107. So maybe it's okay. I think maybe it might be. That's a lot of enemies in that one room. I think we found where the rest of the enemies are. Out of that 107. Oh, frick. That was straight to the face. I have family that just came out, so I can't, like, discuss that, what I was saying. Oh, frick. Okay. Those guys are down. I think we're all right. We can finish this level. Before we end off the episode here. Oh, frick. Okay. Yeah, I had family that was out just then. That's why I couldn't, like, finish what I was saying, Because, if they caught me talking about that, it would be very bad. Oh. There we go. Man, at least, like, I'm getting the ability to do 2 levels this episode instead of just the one that I did. Oh, this looks like a boss fight. Well, it's certainly an archvile. Got him. Whee. There we go. Take that ammo. 114 out of 115. That worries me. Never mind. It's just that guy. Whee! Platform lowers. Yay! Alright. So now we'll end off, since we got all the way through that level. The abandoned mine. We're sure that this is all in hell, right? Like, I'm a little confused by that. Ow. That was pain. But yeah, I think I'll end things off here. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, feel free to subscribe. You can check the video description down below for a link to the playlist. That way you can get caught up on any of the episodes that you might have missed. Ow! Excuse you. Thank you. You can also check the video description for a link to my Patreon, where you can, or Patreon and Discord, I should say, where you can come out, hang out with us, chat, and even support the channel, because it does help out a lot. So, and with that, there's still something alive over there? Shot like 4 rockets in that direction. Come on now. I'm just staying in this room because there's freaking HP and like armor pieces, you know? And I'm trying to kill every... Really? How are you hitting me? Jeez. Anyway, with that, I will see all of you next time. And hey, this time I did record the audio. See you later, everyone.